During this brief video, I'll define WatchGuard Dimension, show you how to install, set up, and configure Dimension, as well as how to use Dimension to visualize your logging and reporting data. What is WatchGuard Dimension? Simply put, Dimension boils down vast amounts of network intelligence into usable and actionable data delivered in a unified view. It is a secure, cloud-ready, centralized logging, visibility, and reporting solution for Firebox and XTM devices that offers you a new way to visualize logging and reporting data. How does Dimension work? The Dimension Log Collector receives logs from your network security devices. Your users can connect to the Dimension Web UI to view and interact with dashboards and reports based on that log data. The administrator can also use the Web UI to manage the Dimension deployment and backend database, which acts as the centralized storage location for the log and reporting data. WatchGuard Dimension can accept log messages and generate reports for any device that runs Fireware XTM OS. It can also accept log messages from WatchGuard Management Server or Quarantine Server. You can install Dimension in a VMware or Hyper-V environment on a virtual machine with a 64-bit operating system. Dimension is distributed as an OVA file for installation on VMware ESXi 5.x. To get started with VMware, download a virtual appliance and deploy it as a template, creating your virtual machine. For Hyper-V, Dimension is distributed as a VHD file. To get started, you download a virtual hard drive and use it when creating a new virtual machine. For detailed instructions on how to create your virtual machine, see the Dimension help. Once your virtual machine is powered on, you'll see the IP address assigned to Dimension through DHCP. Use this address to connect to Dimension and start the Dimension Setup Wizard. If your workstation and Dimension are not installed on the same network, you may not be able to connect and start the Dimension Setup Wizard unless you apply NAT, or Network Address Translation. In this case, you'll almost certainly need to apply a NAT rule to the management connection between your workstation and the Dimension virtual machine, as well as to any management connections you've allowed from outside your network. You may also need to apply NAT to the WatchGuard logging connections between your remote Firebox or XTM devices and Dimension. Let's take a closer look at how to set up NAT for both HTTPS and WatchGuard logging. In WatchGuard System Manager, connect to the device that is in front of Dimension. Now open Policy Manager. To set up NAT, I need two policies. The first policy I need is HTTPS, which is located in this folder. The HTTPS policy is used to connect to and manage Dimension. Because this is an incoming connection, I'll remove the From Any Trusted and will replace it with From Any External. I'll also remove To Any External and will replace it with To a Static NAT. For the sake of this demonstration, I'll name this SNAT Dimension, but you can choose any name that works best for you. Here I'll enter the private IP address that I showed you earlier. I'll do the same with the WatchGuard logging policy to NAT logs from external devices to Dimension. Because I created a NAT action in the previous policy, I'll reuse the same SNAT action for this policy. Just like before, I'll remove the From Any Trusted and will replace it with From Any External. I'll also remove To Any External and replace it with the SNAT I called Dimension that I created a minute ago. I'll save the configuration to the device and then can start the setup wizard. To start the Dimension Setup Wizard, open a browser and type either the public IP address from the NAT rule, or if you don't have a NAT rule, the IP address of Dimension. Because I have NAT set up, I'll go to my public IP address. Go ahead and accept the security warning that displays, and then log in with the username admin and the passphrase read-write. Once you're logged in, this page displays and shows what information is needed to complete the installation. First, I'll configure the Dimension networking information. I'll specify a host name and choose whether to use DHCP or static IP addressing. I'll go ahead and choose static. If I set this drop-down menu to DHCP, I would need a DHCP reservation to ensure the IP address doesn't change. Now I can set my IP address and gateway. Here I'll configure a DNS server. You can add a domain name if you want, but because it isn't required, I'll just leave this field blank. Next, I'll set the admin passphrase, which is used to connect as a super administrator and make changes to Dimension. Here I'll set the log server encryption key. This key is used to encrypt logs sent from the device to Dimension so that logs can't be read as they are transferred. Make sure you review your Dimension settings. This is the time to make any changes if necessary. Everything looks good here, so I'll click Next to complete the setup. When I click Finish, the IP address used to connect directly to Dimension displays. Because I set up a NAT rule, I will use the public IP address, not the one on this page. With the wizard complete, I can now log in to Dimension as admin and take a look at the configuration options. With Dimension, multiple super admin users can be logged in at the same time, but only one admin can access a page in read-write mode at a time. Use the Administration drop-down menu to schedule reports, manage the log server, log database, and user accounts, as well as configure the system settings. Let's take a closer look at the system settings. On this page, you can configure your network settings, manage certificates, perform system maintenance, and view connected users. One thing to note is that the private key for your certificates has to come from Dimension. It can't be imported separately. On the configuration page, you can change the interface configuration, DNS servers, and NTP servers, as well as enable remote backups using SFTP. To manage users and roles, go to the User Management page. You need to be in read-write mode to add, edit, or remove users and to change your Active Directory settings. Your Dimension deployment must have a DNS server that has the ability to resolve your domain controllers based on that internal domain name in order to enable Active Directory authentication here. Use the database page to start and stop the database. You can also use this page to view the status report, which provides information about the devices sending log data to Dimension. Under Log Server Management on the Status page, you can view the status of the log server, as well as stop and start the log server. Go to the Configuration page for general configuration tasks, such as to change your encryption key, back up and restore the Dimension database, and configure an email server for Dimension to use for notifications and delivering reports. If you want to see host names instead of IP addresses in your reports, you can enable IP address resolution on the IP address mapping page. With this feature, Dimension can do dynamic IP address to name mapping using an internal DNS server, or you can manually create static maps. Use the Diagnostics page to delete all diagnostic log messages generated by your devices from the log server database. This is a great way to free up space in your database. Use the Schedule Report page to view the report schedules or create and edit reports for select users, such as executives and your IT staff. When you schedule a report, you are scheduling the reports to be emailed or FTP'd somewhere. Remember, if you choose email, you must have an SMTP server set up on your configuration tab. When you generate a report, enter read-write mode. Give the report a name and description, which devices or servers to include in the report, and who will receive the scheduled report. All reports viewed through the web interface are on demand all of the time. What is being scheduled here are PDF versions of the reports that are sent to one or more recipients as they are generated, or reports that are automatically uploaded via FTP. You can choose which type of report you want to generate, the time zone, any customization that you want to apply, if you want a single report for each device or a collective report for all devices, and how often you want to generate the report. To get the most out of Dimension, there are 3 things you need to do to make sure data is available for your reports. You need to enable logging for reports in proxy actions on your devices and WatchGuard services. You must enable logging of allowed packets in all policies to see additional information you might not have seen otherwise. And you must configure your devices and WatchGuard services to send log messages to your Dimension Logs server. I'll show you how to do all of this now. In Policy Manager, open the Logging Setup window, enable WatchGuard Logging, and add the IP address and encryption key of Dimension like this. Because this device is on the same network as Dimension, I'll use the private IP address. If this was a remote device, I would enter the public IP address used in the WatchGuard Logging NAT policy. Because your Firebox or XTM device can only send logs to one log server at a time, make sure the Dimension log server is at the top of this list. That's it! The last thing to do is save these changes to the device. The chart you see here shows what logging you need to have enabled on the device in order to generate reports in Dimension. The logging functions in the left-hand column impact the reports and dashboards you see on the right. For example, you must enable logging of allowed packets in your policies to see this data in the Web, Packet Filter, Top Client, and Application Control reports, as well as on the Executive Dashboard, Threat Map, and in Firewatch. The Executive Dashboard gives you the top 10 list for your clients, domains, URL categories, destinations, applications, application categories, and protocols. The Executive Dashboard shows usage, how much data you've used for a given time period. This is particularly helpful for executives who may want to know what is occurring on the network. The Security Dashboard, on the other hand, shows network traffic that is denied by the firewall, IPS signatures, and gateway antivirus hits. Network and security administrators tend to find this information useful. The Threat Map shows a world view of where denied traffic came from. You can use this drop-down menu to see the sources of denied packets, intrusion prevention service, web traffic, application control, or all network traffic. Here you can see the Firewatch data. Firewatch is an interactive reporting tool that groups, aggregates, and filters statistics about your firewall traffic. It's helpful if you want to see who uses the most bandwidth on your network, which sites and applications your users visit the most, and so forth. With all of this information in mind, you are now ready to start using Dimension on your own network. For more information about Dimension, visit the WatchGuard website.